skandha, trunk, bhuja, branches, upashaka, and twigs, prana, the life air, upaharat, by feeding, cha, and yatha, as, indriyanam, of the senses, tatha eva, similarly, sarva, of all demigods, arhanam, worship, achyuta, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ijya, worship. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, similarly worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are parts of that Supreme Personality. Purport. Sometimes people ask why this Krishna consciousness movement simply advocates worship of Krishna to the exclusion of the demigods. The answer is given in this verse. The example of pouring water on the root of a tree is very appropriate. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Urdhvamulam athashakam. This cosmic manifestation has expanded downward, and the root is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord confirms in Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Krishna is the root of everything. Therefore, rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, Krishna Seva, means automatically serving all the demigods. Sometimes it is argued that karma and jnana require a mixture of bhakti in order to be successfully executed, and sometimes it is argued that bhakti also requires karma and jnana for its successful termination. The fact is, however, that although karma and jnana cannot be successful without bhakti, bhakti does not require the help of karma and jnana. Actually, as described by Srila Rupa Goswami, Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karamadi Anavritam. Pure devotional service should not be contaminated by the touch of karma and jnana. Modern society is involved in various types of philanthropic works, humanitarian works, and so on. But people do not know that these activities will never be successful unless Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is brought into the center. One may ask what harm there is in worshipping Krishna and the different parts of his body, the demigods, and the answer is also given in this verse. The point is that by supplying food to the stomach, the indriyas, the senses, are automatically satisfied. If one tries to feed his eyes or ears independently, the result is only havoc. Simply by supplying food to the stomach, we satisfy all of the senses. It is neither necessary or nor feasible to render separate service to the individual senses. The conclusion is that by serving Krishna, Krishna Seva, everything is complete. As confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22.62, Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hoya. If one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is automatically accomplished. Om Tat Sat. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jayasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Devadvija Gurur Prajna Pujanam Archanam Sevam. This is mentioned as austerity of the body in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is explaining. Deva Dvija Gurur Prajna. The Supreme Lord and the demigods, Guru, Prajna, respectable elderly people and all that. All of them have to be worshipped, respected. That is proper culture for the soul. So, this argument is here that if I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is like watering the root of a tree. Brilliant example given here in the Bhagavatam. If I put water in the root of a tree, I don't have to separately water the twigs, the flowers, the fruit, the branches, the trunk. I don't have to do that. Why? Because the tree is set up so wonderfully. If you pour water at the root, it nourishes nourishes the whole tree. You don't have to do the job. It's already designed like that. You just have to put water at the root. Similarly, what is the system that is set up is, if you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Adi Moolam, the original root, then automatically everybody is satisfied, including the demigods. This does not mean that you disrespect the demigods, disrespect to the elders, disrespect to your parents, disrespect to your guru. It doesn't mean that. What does it mean? It means to understand, here Prabhupada is explaining that very wonderfully, you can never be without worshipping the Supreme Lord. You'll become condemned if you don't worship the Supreme Lord. Why? Because it's like absolute truth, source of everything, and the ultimate goal. If you don't worship the Supreme Lord, the absolute truth, the root, the goal of everything, all your other worships will be very limited. And you will always remain wanting, not complete. That you have to understand. So you can remain without worshipping demigod, you can remain without worshipping so and so, your parents, this, that. But you can never be without worshipping the Supreme Lord. You can never be without worshipping the Supreme Lord. But if you don't understand this actual truth, then you will end up worshipping anybody and everybody as the Supreme. That is a problem. That is a problem. So here the philosophy given in the Bhagavatam is very wonderful. Philosophy given in the Bhagavatam says very clearly that nobody in this world, in this creation, can be without connection with the Supreme. You can never be without connection with the Supreme. For all your things to go on nicely, even if it is a demigod worship, you need connection with the Supreme Absolute Truth. That Krishna is telling in the 7th chapter. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhayar chitumicchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhami aham. I am the one who is helping you to worship your demigod. I am the one situated in my heart, in your heart. I will make your faith steady in some God and ask him to reciprocate with you. Since you like it, since you want it. I am the one who is doing it for you. Anything and everything I am involved, whether you like it or not. This whole world is coming from me. Janmadya sayatah anvayat itaratas charteshva vignyah swarat tene brahma hridaya adi kavaye muhyanti yat surayah. Muhyanti yat surayah. Even the demigods get bewildered, they cannot understand. Tejo vari mram yata vinimayo yatra trisargo amrisha. Muhyanti means what type of muhyanti? They take illusion to be real. They take illusion to be real. Tejo vari mridam yata vinimayo atra trisargo amrisha. Amrisha, Mrisha and Amrisha. Illusion and truth. Even the demigods get bewildered. Understanding who is the absolute truth. What is the origin? So what to speak of anybody else? So the supreme position of God, Bhagavan, should be understood. Krishna. It is not that there are no other gods. There are gods. Prabhupada explains this very nicely in the beginning of the Bhagavatam in the first chapter, first sloka. He says, controller, Ishvara, God, is a position that Krishna has. But he has a position higher than that. He says, he starts the introduction by saying, the supreme absolute truth and God are not on the same level. He'll start the Bhagavatam by saying that. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. He is not only God. God, there are many. There are so many Ishwaras. There are many Ishwaras. Krishna also becomes one of the Ishwaras, where necessary. But you must know that he is Parameshwara. He is the source of all the Ishwaras. This is the meaning of absolute truth. Samam Bonam, he uses the word. The source of all energies, the supreme absolute truth, the reality, the origin of everything, that is Krishna. Now Krishna is not ordinary God. He is not just another demigod. You cannot say that, oh, you worship Krishna, I worship Ganesha. Both are same. I mean, we both are Ishta Devata, you Ishta Devata. No, you are completely wrong. This is what the Bhagavatam is telling. This is the meaning of Yata Taror Mula Nishechanena. Root. Krishna is not only another God. He plays that role. And in a very big way he plays that role. How? He expands. The entire spiritual world is governed by Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Niruddha, Vasudeva. And then he expands further and further, and then he becomes Mahavishnu. And from Mahavishnu the entire material manifestation comes. Right? So he expands and expands and expands, and he becomes, Vishnu, along with the Trimurtis, Shiva, Brahma and Vishnu. From that position of absolute truth, he comes down and he represents himself as one of the Trimurtis, like a demigod. But incidentally, he will do that. Prime Minister of India has got cabinet ministers, then there is finance minister, there is agricultural minister, there is information and broadcasting minister and all that. But he also has a portfolio. Defense or something will also be under him. He is also becoming like a cabinet minister. Apart from that, he manages all the ministers. They all report to him. He has also got one portfolio. Are, edukappa, you are prime minister, you don't need a portfolio. No. This important portfolio I have to keep. Because I know more than all of you know why it is important. Defense is with me. External affairs is with me. Sometimes it's like that. Each prime minister does differently. Similarly, although Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, he also becomes one of the Trimurtis. And he maintains this universe. But that does not mean that this person who is called Vishnu, who is maintaining the universe like one of the Trimurtis, is only a demigod. That is wrong if you think like that. Because you don't know him enough. That's what he is revealing in the Bhagavad Gita. He is telling Arjuna, it's too big to discuss with you. Atava bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjuna na. Enna solradhu? How can I explain to you? Vrishtabhyaham idam krishnam ekamshena sthito jagat. It is enough if you understand that one amsha, one small spark is maintaining this entire universe. Now you can understand, I am fire. The one spark only is maintaining this. Because you cannot understand. in this present situation that you are in. It's impossible for you to understand, but you are very eager to know, so I want to show you. Then he says, no, I want to see. Then he shows Vishwarupa also to him. And Vishwarupa also is nothing compared to the real glories of the Lord. In this way, it is very difficult for us to understand the greatness of the Supreme Absolute Truth. That is the thing we will not accept. No, I will do. Man is great. He will find out everything. And little by little, everything will put under the microscope and will crack open the nature's code. And we will find out this, we'll find out. It will take you so many millions of janmas. And still you will be so tired trying to find out. Because it is so vast, you don't understand. It will never fit inside you. That is the meaning of the absolute truth. So, Bhagavatam says that even if you count all the grains of sand in this universe, still you will not be able to understand the qualities of the Supreme Absolute Truth. These are the things given for us to understand how small we are, how great the Supreme Absolute Truth Krishna is. And still we will not accept. Why? That's the nature of being small. The nature of being small is, I am not small. I am pretty good. I am pretty good. So that is why the moment you understand from the Bhagavatam, actually by the mercy of the Lord, that God, Bhagavan, Krishna, who He is, you immediately become filled with love for Him. You immediately become highly respectful and great and go beyond that and become fully loving. That stage when you actually become a lover of Krishna, lover of the Supreme Absolute Truth, then you can understand how He has manifested this whole creation for the sake of conditioned souls like you and me. Most ungrateful, most low-class people who have left Krishna and want to enjoy separated from Krishna and who think they are very great. So He is so big, He says, it's okay, you enjoy. It's okay. I can afford to allow you to enjoy, allow you to call yourself absolute truth also. Because it is never going to happen like that. It's never happen like that. So you can say what you want, you can do what you want. Okay, here is a world where you want to believe that you are great. That's called material world. That is where the lesson is given here like that. Bhagavan means yatha taror mula nishechanena. No, understand? Can't understand. I am the root. See, in my house everybody obeys me. Outside of my house, of course things are different. But in my house I am the boss. Because I'll control people. In my factory I am the boss. Similarly, the demigods also think I am great. Right? Brahma really thought like that. And he got into a big problem. Brahma Vimohana Leela. You got a very big... Indra also thought like that. It's not that demigods don't think like this, like we do. They are also conditioned souls only. For a brief period only they are so and so. Indra, he really did it. He sent thunderbolts and lightning on the people of Vrindavan. Very quietly Krishna raised the hill and said, don't worry, Koncham, uncle is little angry. For some time he'll become alright. He'll become alright. And then 7 days he rained thunder shower, and then suddenly I understood that, oh my gosh, I made a very huge blunder. It's not just a cowherd boy. It's a supreme absolute truth. Yasyalinde param brahma. That person crawling in Nanda Maharaja's courtyard, he's the param brahma. He is the absolute truth. It is enough if I take shelter of him. You can go smriti mitare, shruti mitare, bharate, anye, bhayabhitaha. If some people are going in, Vedas, they are studying the Shruti, the Smriti, and some people are with fear studying the Mahabharata and all that. But for me, I have discovered that the absolute truth is crawling around in Nanda Maharaja's courtyard. That is enough for me. I don't want anything else. I take shelter of that absolute truth. In this way, if you understand who is Krishna, that's why when you say Krishna in Vrindavana to the gopis, it means something else. That is another big aspect of the Supreme Absolute Truth. That although he is God, although he is very powerful, he becomes overpowered by his devotees. He becomes subservient to his devotees. That is another great quality of the Absolute Truth, Krishna. So we must understand very clearly the philosophy, the theology. How we see God, who is God. It is not that I am worshipping one of the many gods. No, I am not. I am worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It means Parameshwara, the Ishvara of all the Ishvaras. Ahamadirhi Devanam. I am the source of all the demigods. Right? So he is not ordinary God. Now beyond that it says, more than being Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is Absolute Truth. That's what the Bhagavatam is saying. Then the gopis are saying, all that is not this thing. He is our darling in Vrindavan. And Krishna is going behind them. Now it becomes even more bewildering to understand. Napa, you said that this is Supreme Absolute Truth and all, but he is going around and crawling in Nanda Maharaja's courtyard. And he is singing and dancing for the gopis. They are telling, dance, I'll give you some sweet. He is dancing. How can the Absolute Truth? That is the aspect of the Absolute Truth you don't know. There he becomes more than Absolute Truth. He becomes subservient to his devotees. In this way, Krishna's qualities are so rich, so wide, so broad, so deep. It's not so easy to understand. Therefore, the Shastra advises, you don't try to understand, understand a little bit, whatever you can, but you must at least be inspired to worship that Supreme Absolute Truth. All your problems will be taken care of. And you will make progress spiritually, gradually. Even if nothing, you will at least make gradual spiritual progress. So where to put our worship? Where to invest? How to get the best benefit for any living entity is to worship the Supreme Absolute Truth, Krishna. This advice is being given by Narada to the Prachetas. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai ki. The Prachetas, they are very, very cultured Aryans, high of the highest class. And their father, King Prachina Bhari, is personally being instructed by Narada Muni. And here you can see that same Narada is instructing the sons of Prachina Bhari, the Prachetas. They have seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They will see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very wonderfully it is described. And he is explaining to them who that Supreme Lord is. By saying very clearly, Yata taror moola nisechanena. He is the root. He is the source of everything. So when we offer our prayers, we are offering our prayers to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, the root. That is how the Bhagavatam starts. Why Vyasadeva is starting? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Yateha Anvayat Itaratascharteshva Vignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayah Tejo Vari Mridam Yata Vinimayo Atratra Sargo Amrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. Param Satyam. Satyam Param Dhimahi. Abhijñah Swarat, who is completely independent. Swarat. Abhijñah means fully conscious, independent personality. That son of Vasudeva, called Vasudeva Krishna. That person I offer my obeisances to. Very clearly, he knows whom he is talking about. I am not simply talking about just another person. The root of everything. Janmadyasya yataha. What a way to address. That's why it's so wonderful. Same way, Gajendra addressed the supreme absolute truth. We discussed last time how Atri Muni did not know how to address the supreme absolute truth. He addressed Jagannath, Jagadisha, and all the Trimurtis came. The prayer did not actually go to the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna. So throughout Bhagavatam you will see persons who know this fact and they are praying and addressing that supreme absolute truth. Your prayer is perfect, you become perfect, and the Supreme Lord will come and make you perfect. Everything will be perfect. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Why? Because you are worshipping the complete supreme absolute truth. That you know how to pray, whom to pray. If you read Bhagavad Gita, you will know whom to pray to. So you compare this to Hinduism today. Hinduism, nobody knows who is God. Actually, you go and ask anybody. It ranges from I am God to so and so is God, who is another human being whom I worship. And it goes to some demigod. And it goes to all sorts of people but the supreme absolute truth. They worship everybody else. In other words, according to this example, everywhere else they'll pour water. This is what is Hinduism now. Only the root I will not pour water. Everywhere else. See how Hinduism is a way of life. You can do anything you want, any circus you want. You will somehow go to the absolute truth. No, you will not go. Because you don't pour water in the root. The opposite of this is what they do. The Bhagavatam is telling, do this. Not required to do any of those things. Pour water in the root. Naturally, any person with brain between his ears will actually pour water at the root. You can imagine, you don't pour water at the root. It is as foolish. That's why Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Tad bhavati alpamedasham. He's saying that there is no intelligence, very low intelligence. Krishna himself is telling this in Bhagavad Gita. But they will not listen to the Bhagavad Gita. They will keep chanting Bhagavad Gita also. And they will worship a demigod. Amazing people there. I can understand in the West they don't know. And as soon as you tell them, they know. But here, when you think you know, you can never know. If you think you know, you will never know. This is why Prabhupada became successful in the West only, first. He tried for 40 years to preach in India. He left. He left to America and instantly became successful. Because we really don't know. You're telling us it sounds very convincing. We'll take it up. Yata taror mola nishechanena. I worship the Supreme Lord. Then he said, I will bring my dancing white elephants and then talk to you. Then only you listen. He brought all of these people. They danced, they chanted in the streets and told, what are you doing? Worship Krishna. Yes, we will worship. Only they understand. Only they understand. So it's very, very difficult to understand if you don't have the blessings of a pure devotee. You think you know. Not easy to know. Unless you have the mercy of the Supreme Lord coming through a chain of disciplic succession. Unless you are in contact with somebody who is very strictly following, you will not know. And you will constantly think, I know. You will constantly think, I know. Hinduism ki jai, Bharat Mata ki jai, but Krishna, the Supreme Lord ki jai will never come out of their mouth. Every other jai will come. And it becomes Jayanti also. But that Jai, Jayanti, everything except for the root. Everything else is Jai. This person's Jayanti, that person's Jayanti. You can see how it works, the illusion. This is Moha. That's why it says Mohayanti yat Suraya. Even the demigods don't know. How can these fellows know? Demigods are controllers. Big Ishwaras they are. They don't know. What will these leaders know? They are chota controllers. Small place, constituency, I am the boss. Small country, I am the boss. They don't know. They will not know. So therefore you must get educated. You must read, understand under a proper guru. Only then you will understand. Don't take it very lightly. That's okay. That everybody knows. We can interpret it any way we want because nobody will tell anything to you. It's all loose and open. There is no strict way of following. Anything you can follow. It's not true. It's mentioned here. Yata taror moola nisechinena. You must worship the root. Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Otherwise you are finished. Otherwise you are finished. It will be very difficult for you. Religion means, God means, process means everything nicely detailed in Bhagavad Gita. Why do people don't follow it? Why do they don't follow it? That's the whole point. Simple question to ask. But in any other place, they will immediately get convinced and they will follow if they are convinced about it. So we must be very convinced. Many times even devotees in ISKCON don't fully know why we are worshipping Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why it is called International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Now you understand. It's not that, oh, Krishna consciousness, I'll start another, International Society for Ganesh Consciousness. International Society for this thing. Yes, you can have another international society. You don't even need to have, it's plenty there. Actually, International Society Krishna Consciousness only is needed because nobody is doing it. Other consciousness, you don't have to start a movement, it's already there. International Society for so many people's consciousness is there. They worship some idiot and they'll be in consciousness of that person. But for Krishna, it is not there. It's only Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's needed. Nobody is doing this. Yata taror moola nishechanena is not being done. Therefore he started. This is very relevant. Very relevant. And there Krishna does not mean just one of the 84 crores demigods. I'm sorry, whatever crores of demigods. It's not one of them. Absolute truth. The source. Right? So here, Narada Muni is making it clear to the Prachetas whom I am asking you to worship. So we are telling everybody, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, and you will see that the absolute truth will become connected to you. Because this chanting of the holy name is absolute. It's coming from Goloka. Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana. So, relative truth and absolute truth. Demigod worship is a relative truth. The absolute truth, Krishna, if his name is sung, you're immediately getting in touch with the absolute. You are a part and parcel of that absolute truth. Mamaivamsha jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana. These are all very important points to know. You are a part and parcel of that absolute. And you are inside the relative world. And you are in relative consciousness, material consciousness. You think you are this body. And Harinama is coming from there directly. And if you chant, you get connected to the absolute truth. Immediately you start watering the Yata Taror Moola Nishechanena. You have started doing. And you may not even know. The thing about the absolute truth is you may not even know that you are in touch with the absolute truth. But anybody who gets in touch with the absolute truth, even a demon will get purified. Will get purified. Shishupala, he was a demon. He was throughout his life from birth onwards, he is talking ill of Krishna. And he is envious of Krishna like nothing. But he amazingly is relieved of his relative nature by Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra. In the Rajasuya Yajna, he was killed. He was killed. And then in front of everybody, Actually, he merged. Sushupala, spirit soul, merged into Krishna. He was given Sayujya Mukti by Krishna. The reason is because he has been physically connected with the absolute truth, Krishna. Anybody who is touched by Krishna in some way or the other cannot be degraded. Even Hiranyakashipu. Touched by Nrsimhadev, became elevated. That's the meaning of absolute. For absolute there is no hatred. For absolute there is no bad, good. If moment you get in touch with the absolute, you will get purified of bad, good, dualities, everything. That's why everybody should be in touch with the absolute truth. That's why everybody should do yata taror mula. You should water. This is the meaning of education. Everybody should be trained to become connected with the absolute truth. Only then it is called yoga. Yoga means connecting with the absolute truth, not with any relative truth. That's why Krishna is defining yoga in the 6th chapter. Yoginam api sarvesham adgaten antaratmana. What he's trying to tell is other things are not really yogi. That person who is connected with me is the topmost of all yogis. He's very nicely saying that actually he is the only yogi. One is connected to me is the only yogi. Others are all so-called yogis. Because he's saying, that is my opinion. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo matah. My opinion is that person is the topmost. Because he is connected with the absolute. He is connected with the absolute. You cannot worship Kali, you cannot worship Ganesha and do yoga, asana, and think you are very great. No. You should actually be connected by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Everybody who does this is doing the highest yoga. Much better than anybody else. Is connecting with the Supreme Absolute Truth in Kali Yuga. So fortunate. So fortunate. So that's why, what is the meaning of worshipping the Supreme? What you will get in return, and what you will not get due to worship of relative truths in this world. It should be clearly understood. In the 7th chapter, Krishna, the knowledge of the absolute, it's called, very clearly establishes, if you worship like this, you will go here. Yanti deva vrta devan, pitrin yanti pitrivrtaha, bhutani yanti bhutejya, yanti mat yajinopimam. Very big difference is showing. He's saying that if you worship the demigods, you'll go to the planet of the demigods. Where is it? Here only, next door. If you worship the Pitris, this door. If you worship the other Bhutani, this thing and all, here only. But if you worship me, you will come to the spiritual world. You won't remain here. That shloka you should nicely understand. It's not that, because I worship Krishna, I go to Krishna, I go to this. No. It's a very big difference. He's showing that if you worship me, you go to the supreme absolute world, the spiritual worlds. But if you worship all these other people, the demigods, the pitris, other powerful people, you'll remain here only. That's what he's telling. It's not be interpreted very lightly as thinking, oh yeah, if you do that, you'll get this. You'll do this, you'll get this. It's business. You do that, I'll get this. No. It's a very huge difference. It's a very huge difference between worshipping Krishna and worshipping any other demigod. That's what Krishna is trying to tell there. If you connect with the absolute truth, me, you will come there. If you keep with the relative truth, you will go in one of these places. Inside this place only. Yani kani chapapani, again you will be doing in the material world only. You don't really get out at all. That's what he's trying to tell. Because he has already told low intelligence if you worship the demigods. So people don't understand to connect the shlokas together and see Krishna is telling, better you worship me. And that option and that choice is equal in front of you. If you make the wrong choice, you're finished, you're somewhere. It's just education. People have to be educated in this. They have to be told this most important information. Don't make a mistake. After getting the human form of life, very nicely explained in the 11th canto, you climbed all the way to fall down. It's mentioned in the story of the 24 gurus, the pigeon. How the pigeon, mother pigeon and the father pigeon completely lose their lives because the children is gone and all that. Nice story. And there it says, you climbed so high only to fall down. Means you became a human being, and if you didn't worship the Supreme Absolute Truth, Damal. What a waste of time. What a waste of effort. So don't think we are simply worshipping Krishna. Like Prabhupada is saying, people often ask us, Krishna conscious movement people are fanatic. They worship only Krishna. There are so many gods. Why don't you worship? Illada Muttal, you don't know what is the meaning of worship. You have to learn from a guru, not just be learning Bharat Mata Ki Jai alone. You will never understand that. You'll never understand that. We are fanatic. You're supposed to be fanatic of the absolute truth. A person who worships the Supreme Absolute Truth cannot be called fanatic. As much as if you say, I am very attached to my mother, father, you're a fanatic. There are so many parents. What are you saying? I have natural affection for my parents. You can't call me a fanatic. Krishna is saying that in Bhagavad Gita. Aham bija prada pita. I am the seed giving father for everybody. Naturally you should be attracted to me. Naturally you will be attracted to me. To the gopis he is telling in Bhagavatam, now all living entities are naturally attracted to me. He is telling to the gopis. Sarva Jantava is saying have a natural attraction to me. Because I am their father. So am I being a fanatic if I tell my father, don't be a fanatic? Now what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? So in that way everybody is part and parcel of the absolute truth. You can't call you a fanatic because I am a Krishna devotee. You're supposed to be. Right? You cannot say you are a fanatic of your father and mother. It's completely, nobody will, take that in. You cannot say you're a Krishna devotee, you're a fanatic. I mean, that's what I'm supposed to be and that's what you're also supposed to be, by the way. By not being a Krishna devotee, you're being a fanatic, actually. By not being a Krishna devotee only, you're being a fanatic. But we are supposed to be. I'm connected with the Lord. Mamaivam sajiva loke. So, you can say that you are fanatic and you are correct. You are a Krishna devotee, you are a fanatic and you are absolutely right in being so. Because you are connected with the absolute truth and that's how you should be. I am fanatic and I am right. In this world, they don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear that. So, very nicely explained throughout the Bhagavatam. And here Narada Muni is brilliantly giving this example of a tree. The branches of the tree, roots of the tree, and the trunk, the skanda bhujo pashakaha, prano pahara chayatendriyanam. Another example given there, feeding the stomach and all the parts of the body get enlivened. Right? You put the food where it should be. You don't put the food here inside the nose and all that. It doesn't work like that. Right? You put the food where the mouth is a famous saying. Put the food where the mouth is. Pour the water where the root is. Put the food where the mouth is. You never see anybody doing anything else. You'll see the mad fellow. But you will see that a lot of people are mad, according to Bhagavatam. Everybody is putting all over the place. There are 9 openings. I don't want to tell you about the other openings. There are 9 openings in the body. City of 9 gates. You can pour it through anywhere you want. Missing out the 1 gate alone. The rest of the 8 gates, if you put, that's when you are a fanatic. If you put on this 1 gate, you are free. Just think about it. Om Tat Sat. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nittai Guru Premanande. Any question or comment? Yeah.
Even though the soul is full of knowledge, they said, full of happiness and full of knowledge, like that. And why aren't we understanding this truth that Bhagavad Gita taught us?
The soul is full of knowledge, no doubt, but that knowledge is covered now. That is the meaning of illusion. That's the meaning of this material body. That's the meaning of this material existence. You are not in reality, you are in illusion. Therefore, you have to unearth and bring out that knowledge that is there inside you. Because you are in illusion now. Okay? So you will see when you are realized that I am spirit soul, I am Satchit Ananda. And you understand then only that I am happy because I am situated in my unconditioned state. In the conditioned state, covered state, contaminated state, it is difficult for us to be happy because we don't know. Our knowledge is covered. Avritam jnanam etena jnanino nityavairina. Krishna is explaining. Avritam jnanam, your knowledge is covered by matter, by material nature. That's our situation now is we are in the conditioned state, the state of covered situation. So, by accepting a proper spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, and by following his instructions, he will introduce you to the truth. Uncompromisingly. He will tell you the truth. That's what Narada Muni is telling the Prachetas. The absolute truth is Krishna. You should worship him. That's what is spiritual life. Then, Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. He has opened your eyes to see the truth, the absolute truth. That person only is called Guru. Not one who opens your eyes to more material illusion. He is called Asat Guru. Yes. Yeah.
I have a doubt. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he covers himself from us in Yoga Maya potency. But I have also heard that he comes under illusion through Mahamaya. So, what is the role of Yogamaya and Mahamaya? Can you please
Yogamaya is a general terminology for Krishna's energy. From Yogamaya comes Mahamaya. Overarching umbrella is called Yogamaya. And normally Yogamaya word is used for Krishna's internal energy. But the internal energy is a more potent, powerful source. The external energy is a very small portion. Most of the creation, most of the thing happening is under internal energy. Only few people are like us, idiots, have come to the material world who made the mistake. So it is mentioned it is like a dark cloud in the spiritual sky, one place. The sky is very huge. So a huge amount of the living entities are all in the spiritual world under the shelter of Krishna. The few foolish people are me and you and others. Yeah. So that is a small aspect. So from the overall Yogamaya, one aspect looks after this dark cloud. It's called Mahamaya. Right? So in one sense, Mahamaya also coming from Yogamaya only, from Krishna's energy. So he will say, Yogamaya samavrita mudhoyam nabijanati lokomam achamavvyam. Then in Kunti Devi's prayers also you say, Maya javanika channam ajnadokshajamavyayam nalakshayase mudadrisha nato natyadharo yata. Krishna, she's telling there also, the curtain of Maya covers all of them from seeing you properly. Because they are not qualified to see you now. Because they are completely absorbed in matter. So you have to make yourself qualified. You have to actually purify yourself and become fit to be able to encounter the absolute truth. Does it give you this thing? Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to know what we are being said to better understand spiritual personality and to make a real life goal.
Lord Chaitanya has explained how to pray in the Sikshashtakam. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam vam vishame bhavam budau kripaya tavapada pankaja stitadhuli sadrisham vichintaya. O my Lord, Nanda Tanuja, son of Maharaj Nanda, patitam, I somehow the other I left you and I fell down into this ocean of material birth and death, into this Bhavasagara. Please show mercy on me. Kripaya tavapada pankaja, and again situate me in service at your lotus feet. So this is a sincere, humble prayer. Prayer is feelingly expressed. That's what, by reading the prayers of so many devotees in the Bhagavatam, you may even learn it by heart, but the main thing is you should also feelingly pray to the Lord. Prayer is very personal, a personal expression from the fallen spirit soul. I made a mistake. I'm regretting it very much. Please, that is prayer. The moment you start really doing that, you get purified. And Krishna is attracted to sincerity because he is right in your heart. So that is why when we read the life of great devotees, like we're reading Prachetas, Narada Muni, and all of them, you must read with feeling they are also people like you. And at one point of time in their existence, this happened to them. And they feelingly expressed. These Prachetas will express in prayer when they see the Lord. They'll be in ecstasy seeing the Lord. In great humility they will say, Yavatte mayaya sprishta brahmanda iha karmabhi tavat bhavat prasanganaham sangasyano bhave bhave. They're seeing the Lord and they're telling, as long as we are in touch with Maya, Yavatte mayaya sprishta brahmanda iha karmabhi, we will keep roaming, taking various janmas in this world because we are useless. I am only asking you one small request. Tavat bhavat prasanganam. Please put us always in touch with your devotees. Sangasyano bhave bhave. As we keep on traveling in this material world. Right? I only ask you, I am capable of only asking you that much. Somehow keep us in touch with your devotee. I'll be saved. So very humble prayer. I'm not thinking I'm very great. I know I am done wrong. I am in a brain. Krishna gets attracted by humility, sincerity. Right? And every one of us can sincerely pray. So feelingly offer your prayers. Actually, prayers come out best when you nicely get fried in this material world. When material nature gives you punches on your nose and gives you fry, deep pakora fry, on the வெளியில போனா அந்த வறுத்து கொடுப்பாங்களே, அதுல one piece will be hanging around on the side. It will be black, but the bhaji will come out and hot will be eaten. But certain pieces of them will be floating around, never picked up. It will forever be in that small black thing. Deep fry. When you get fried like that, then then you will pray very nicely. Otherwise, the living entity in his conditioned state is always proud, is puffed up. That's the problem. That's the problem. So prayer is very deep and it is very sincere. It's pure. When you know that you have nobody else but Krishna. He is the only shelter. I can't rely on my money. I can't rely on my position socially. I can't rely on my brother, my sister, my husband, my wife, my parents. It's only Krishna I can rely on. Then your prayer is very sincere. When all the things are taken away from you, all material crutches, and you can fall only on Krishna, then become very sincere prayer. That doesn't mean you have to wait for that. You can start praying with whatever force and purity you have. But I mean to say that prayer is a personal thing between you and God. And so many great devotees have offered their prayers. Dhruva Maharaja's prayers, Prithu Maharaja's prayers, the Pracheta's prayers, Kunti Devi's prayers. You will see in all of them the sincerity, the humility, and the recognition of Krishna as a supreme personality and as a great ocean of mercy, and all his qualities are known, understood, realized by them, and they pray. One thing is to pray in full understanding of Krishna. The other thing is to offer prayer but sincerely without much understanding. Even that is reciprocated by the Lord. A small child can sincerely offer. Krishna reciprocates. Right? Yeah, I hope that's useful. Yeah.
When we read prayers offered by demigods when Krishna was in the womb of Devaki, it appears that demigods like Brahma and Indra clearly pour water at the root. But in later passages, we see how they offend the Lord. So, what is the real meaning of pouring water at the root?
Yes, good question. Just because you got an opportunity to pour water at the root does not mean you know the root. That's what is the meaning of it. That's the meaning of saying Muhyanti yat Surayaha. It says, the first course in the Bhagavatam says, Tene Brahmahridaya Adikaviye. The original Adikavi is Brahma. He got to get blessed by Upadesha from the heart. The Lord gave him first Upadesha. Just because you got Upadesha from the Lord also doesn't mean that you are secured. That's what we can understand. It has to come out of you also. It has to come out of you. It's a two-way process. So the lover of Krishna is more secure than the person who may be under the protection of Krishna. That's what it looks like. Because unless you develop your love for Krishna, you can't become secure, really speaking. So you can say, the mother can keep on protecting the child. But the child also has to grow up to learn that I should not do certain things that will endanger my life. Then it is more easy for the mother to, look after the child. Why? Child has got knowledge now that I should not go on the road like this. I should not do this. He's educated. So I don't have to worry much about him. So there is a two-way process. You also have to develop your love for Krishna. Just because Krishna happens to protect you and you happen to be Brahma, the Lord of the universe or the first created being in the universe, doesn't guarantee anything. Krishna consciousness is a personal effort and a personal connection with the Lord. And if you don't develop it, even if you are Indra, if you are Brahma, even if you are Lord Shiva, right, you may be in danger. You may be in danger. So that's why one thing we can learn from that thing is, just because I am chanting Hare Krishna regularly, just because I do everything correctly regularly, doesn't mean you become a pure devotee. But there's a good chance you will become. But there is another effort you have to put also to consciously awaken your love for Krishna and actually exercise it. It is a deep thing. You cannot be lazy about it and do only the external sadhana. You should also do the internal sadhana of awakening your love for Krishna. That's why it's a very deep personal exercise. That's what I understand when people ask me, why is Brahma Vimohana Leela happening? He is the head of our Sampradaya. We are Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Yeah, it is happening. It's happening to Lord Shiva. He got bewildered by Mohini Murti. It's happening to everybody. But it's not happening to the pure devotees of the Lord. They are not occupying any position. But they are completely enamored by Krishna only. And they are very safe. They may not be occupying any position, nothing. But they are very safe because they have developed their love for Krishna. This is the meaning of Ye Anye Aravinda Vimuktamaninas Tvai Ashtabhavad Avishuddha Buddhaya Aruhya Kricharena Tata Patantyad Jushmat Angrayah. Because you have not developed love for the lotus feet of the Lord, you are on thin ice, skating on very thin ice. Prak, anytime it will break and you will fall down. So, two-way process. Krishna shows his mercy, and it doesn't mean automatically it works. There's nothing automatic in developing love of Krishna. You have to develop love for Krishna. And you have the capacity in you. Get up and do it. It's not only one way that Krishna will bless me and I will. No, it is not like that. It requires two people to establish a relationship of love. And it applies even here. Krishna is doing his bit. Are you doing your bit in expressing your love for Krishna? That's important to know. I think that's where is the key thing here. I'm not saying I've got the qualification to talk about the love of Brahma and Lord Shiva. I don't have, definitely. But in theory, this is what I understand. I hope that helps.
From Nandit, it seems that the term Parmeshwara as opposed to Ishvara is used more for Lord Shiva than Krishna. In fact, when Googled for Parmeshwara, the results are for Shiva. How do you understand this nature?
That's because it is Google. That's why it's Google. Google means material world. Google means material world. If you Google, you will get that only. You Google Bhagavad Gita and see, you will not get Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. You Google Bhagavad Gita and see, you will get some other Bhagavad Gita written by an impersonalist at the top. Bhagavad Gita of Prabhupada will come down. Because it's Google. In this world, everybody who asks them who is God, they'll tell you me, or that this person, that person. They'll not talk about God as defined in the scripture. Whole world is already Googled. Googly. Bold googly. Yeah. Commonly in common parlance, Parameshwara is likened to Shiva. But this is from the scripture what we are saying. Commonly, in common parlance, for everybody, God means something else. But actually it means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, that person who is speaking the Bhagavad Gita. So, in the material world, always the absolute truth is Sakala Neha Mahata Yogo Nashta Parantapa. Every time the absolute truth is screwed up and made relative. The whole material world is a place where the absolute is relativized. Then only they are comfortable. Everybody is comfortable when the absolute is brought down and plateaued and relativized. That's what is the meaning of material world. Yogo Nashta Parantapa means that only. You won't leave it alone. They won't leave it alone. That's the nature of the material world. So what do you expect? When you say Parameshwara, it will show only the relative aspect. If you want to see the absolute aspect, it has to come out of the mouth of a pure devotee. That's why when out of Prabhupada's mouth it will come, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. He went all over the world and spoke the absolute truth only. Whatever you may think, whatever you may say, this is what the Bhagavad Gita says, and I must speak the absolute truth. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Parameshwara. Parama Ishvara, the supreme controller. That is declared by Krishna only in Bhagavad Gita. Very clearly that I am the supreme. It is not mentioned by Lord Shiva that he is the supreme. In fact, Lord Shiva is mentioning Krishna is the supreme in many, many places. Of course, they will bring out some other quote from here and there and everything. But we have to see that Shastra in totality. And you have to see the Bhagavatam's words, where here I have Lord Shiva offering prayers and glorifying to the Prachetas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can read that, and he is very clearly declaring Krishna to be Parameshwara. When the so-called Parameshwara you are talking about, Lord Shiva, is actually saying he is the Parameshwara, whom should we believe? Google or Lord Shiva saying that he is Parameshwara? Lord Shiva says, I am not the Parameshwara, he is the Parameshwara. People say so many things. So whom should we believe? That's a good question you can ask yourself. Truth is always like that in this world. Truth is not popular. And popular people are all mostly not truthful.